Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Lasham Daily Briefing for Wednesday, the 20th of August, 2025. Starting off with the wider synoptic picture, midnight last night, you can see still predominantly high pressure system with more reaching up from the Azores way down to the southwest, but a low out in the Atlantic there with quite a lot of associated frontal activity. So we will see what happens in the coming days. Today, however, or midnight last night, I should say, we have a weak cold front spreading across much of the continent and northern UK. We're expecting that hopefully to pass us through sometime this morning or early afternoon, although the midday Zulu picture doesn't actually show that weaker portion having remained, it shows it having dissipated. If it does pass over us, then we can hope for a change of air mass, more unstable air behind it, and hopefully quite a pleasant afternoon. In the next few days, you can see not a great deal of change. Low pressure starting to come in, possibly some frontal activity, but not until next weekend or into next week. The sat pic we can see there across one of the country what appears to be evidence of that weak cold front there. And it's fairly well defined. Lots of other sort of higher mid-level cloud in the UK and including in our area to the south. Hoping that that's going to burn off, thin out quite quickly, but it may take a little bit of heat to get going and hopefully it doesn't prove to be too stubborn. Rain radar, very little to affect the occasional shower there in the channel and off to the east of us. If we look to the north, no real evidence of where that front should be in terms of rain. And looking at the Met Office prediction, we run that through, showing on the observation some showers in London and to the north. Running that through. In theory, no issue for us. We may catch the occasional light overcast shower. But into the afternoon and evening, unlikely to be any issues. Odium TAF, they're giving this break pattern 020 degrees, 10 knots today. So visibility greater than 10 kilometers and broken at 2,500 feet. And there's a tempo in for this morning, broken at 2,000. And a probability of broken at 900, which is probably what we saw or what we're beginning to see at the moment. Looking at prob 30 for chance between 1 and 2 of scattered at 2,400. So it'll be a fairly low cloud base today, either way, but it should hopefully get up between 2,500 and 3,500 feet. Barbara is fairly similar, 030 degrees, 8 knots, visibility greater than 10 kilometers, broken at 2,000 feet. Prob 30 for early this morning, broken at 1,200, which is what we're seeing at the moment, becoming Cav OK supposedly between 11 and 2 local. So slight disagreement there towards the end of the forecast. We'll have to wait and see. Just refresh this here. And spot winds then from 214 to the south of us, 050 and 060, 10, beg your pardon, 20 knots, and to the north, 040, 15. So you can expect, I think, northeasterly between 15 and 20 knots at flying height today. Surface winds, it's a bit of an awkward one today, moderate northeasterly. So we can expect a little bit of curl over from the trees. So do bear that in mind, especially if you're on a north-side circuit. We'll be operating at runway 09 today. Looking at the local Met Office forecast, giving wind strengths of around 10 knots, gusting up to just north of 20 at times, with reasonable visibility. Quite a lot of humidity in the early part of the day, reducing into the mid-afternoon and early evening, and eventually a fairly high UV of 6, so do cover up and take care as always. GFS giving us a maximum temperature today of around 20 to 21 degrees and a dew point of around 8. That was the webcam at about 5 to 8 this morning. If we just refresh that, you can see no real change. Fairly solid overcast, with occasional light patch peering through, and a fairly stiff northeasterly breeze. Temperature-wise, we're up to 14.2 with a dew point of 11.3. I'm looking at SkySight here, an excerpt from the potential flight distance in the left-hand side of the screen there. Not a great deal to write home about, particularly sort of to the north and immediately west of Lasham, but there's some good air to the south and further north again, if you were to get clear of that. So I'm sure one or two people will try and make use of that. But this is not quite in agreement with the point forecast for Lasham locally. If we look on the right-hand side of the screen here, showing fairly thick cloud, low, medium, and high level for a great deal of the day. Possibly not burning off and seeing that passage of the cold front as expected. If it does in fact dissipate before it gets here, we could be stuck with this air for more of today than expected. You can see the condensation there, sort of just around under 2,000 feet for much of the morning. By mid-morning, starting to get going a little bit, and it should be soarable up to maybe 3,500 feet later this afternoon. Climbs supposedly ranging between 3 and 4 knots, and with a thermal top wind of 15 knots northeastern. So, having looked at the cloud there with SkySat, we'll see what Top Meteor has to say. This is cloud distribution from 8 o'clock Zulu, so this is 9 local. And we can see a fair bit of below 1,000 and 2,000 foot cloud in the south of England there. We run it through hour by hour. It does start to break up. We end up with a fair bit of altocumulus. But cumulus there and medium thickness cirrus by 2 o'clock, and possibly bluing out mid-afternoon and into the evening. That does suggest we'll have a reduction in the clouds, maybe slightly earlier than the SkySight did, but we will wait and see. The times, nothing hugely significant, just a couple of things to talk about. Sort of usual 35, 36 would be Camberley and the Delta 132 ash ranges. Over to the west at 32, they're going to be Fivelair firing at Barton Stacey. To the north at 39 is West Ilsley, where they're winch launching paragliders to 1,900 feet. Western the Green is active, but not in any areas that concern us. And at 46, we have the Little Rislington ATZ that is active for most of the day. To the west of that, number 44, the gliding comps out of Aston Down, just being aware of those if you're in that area for whatever reason. And over to the west again is number 42, which is the temporary danger area for the drone testing in the Severn. That runs up to 1,400 feet. Moving on now to the local part of the brief. Glide bookings today, we have 3 K21s and 1 K13 for booked instruction, 2 K21s on 5-day courses, and a K13 on the casual list, as well as one for trial lessons. There's limited single-seater availability today, and there were 5 on the casual list. There's no longer one instructor, so if there are any instructors around that would be willing to help, that would be very much appreciated. The simulator is available as normal, and a reminder again about the Boyne expedition, we have still got plenty of space on week 3. Movements today, so we have a 737 arrival at 9:26 local. So I think with that in mind, we'll set up after the movement. There's no point in getting the kit out there to take it back again. So that will be setting up after the movement. In summary, it's a weak cold front expected to pass, or we're hoping it will pass, bring a fresh air mass. There's thick cloud to begin, likely burning off and becoming soarable into the afternoon. We can expect a northeasterly flow on the ground. We'll be operating runway 09 today, cables on the south side grass, and a reminder, today is going to be fairly busy. Instructors, please do not brief at the front of the queue. Okay, we will push you clear for you to the back if you're not ready. And that applies to all pilots. If you are not ready, you will be removed from the winch queue. And as always, tying into that, obviously being ready when the cable or tug arrives. Of course, do not land or taxi across the disused runways shown there in red. And there's our airfield set up with the winch on the usual place on the south side grass from the main runway, airtowing from the hard. And should there have been a grid, it would have been in the north side corner there. That's all from me. I'll see you around out in the airfield after the movement. Have a good day and keep it safe. Thank you very much.